This is for educational use only. Our group is allowing our instructor, Mr. Roldan Hardines, to use this as an educational material. So our topic is all about global divides, the North and the South. So the learning objectives is consists of four questions, which is how did the global divide develop? Why the global divides, the North and the South? What is the difference between Third World and Global South? And lastly, define the term Global South. Differentiate the Global South from Third World and analyze how a new conception of global relations emerged from the experiences of Latin American countries. So, let's start with our first question. So, how did the global divide develop? So, before I answer that question, let me first explain the global north and south. So, the division between the global north and global south is a conceptual framework used to illustrate the socio-economic, political, and developmental disparities between regions of the world. They generally refer to the wealthier, more industrialized countries in the northern hemisphere, such as Europe, North America, and parts of Asia, as opposed to the less developed or developing countries predominantly located in the southern hemisphere, including Africa, Latin America, and parts of Asia. So, it also consists of three worlds: first world, second world, and third world. So, the first world is originally referred to countries aligned with the United States and its NATO allies during the Cold War. These countries were typically capitalist democracies with advanced economies, strong industrial bases, and high standards of living. Examples include the United States, Canada, Western European countries like the UK, France, Germany, as well as Japan, Australia, and others. So the Second World is referred to countries aligned with the Soviet Union and the Communist bloc during the Cold War. These countries were typically socialist or communist states with centrally planned economies. Examples include the Soviet Union, China, Eastern European countries like Poland, Hungary, and Bulgaria, as well as Cuba, North Korea, and others. So, next is the Third World, originally referred to countries that were not aligned with either the Western Bloc, First World, or the Eastern Bloc, Second World, during the Cold War. It is often characterized by their developing or non-industrialized economies, lack of political stability, and lower standards of living. Included a diverse range of countries from various regions, including many in Africa, Asia, Latin America, and the Middle East. The term third world is now considered outdated and sometimes pejorative due to its association with poverty and underdevelopment. Today, terms like developing countries or South are often used instead. So, one of the examples is Philippines because we are underdeveloped countries and we have higher poverty rates. So, let's go back to the question. How did the global divide develop? So, the global divide developed during the Cold War through a combination of ideological differences, geopolitical ambitions, military alliances, proxy conflicts, and the legacy of World War II. This divide shaped international relations for much of the 20th century and had profound effects on global politics, economics, and culture.
Alright, so my topic is all about the why the global divides the north and the south. So the global north divides the south and the south. It's because the division is rooted in historical colonialism, inequality of distribution of resources, and also in geopolitical power, and also access to technology and education. So as what Alejandro said, that the north is a developed country like the United States, Japan, and more. There's a lot of opportunities, and of course, it's called rich countries. While as the South has a less economical developed countries, has less opportunities and not that much of rich countries. So it is divided. It's because if both countries were were being unified or together as one, of course, there will be a lot of uh, reduces the poverty, enhancement of economical development, and of course, greater social stability and worldwide. But of course, it will have really complex like challenges a lot because it requires addressing complex geopolitical parties, and of course, in economical history and inequalities and also power imbalance. That's why both North and South been divided.
The third world and global south. The terms of third world and global south both seeks describe regions and countries facing economic, social, and development challenges, but they differ significantly in their historical context, connotation, and implication. Third world originated during Cold War era to refer the countries that did not align with their either the capitalist bloc, first world, or the communist bloc, second world. Initially, it primarily carried political connotation rather than economic one. However, over time, it became associated with economic underdevelopment, poverty, and lack of industrialization. Global South emerged in the 20th century as more political correct and inclusive term. It focuses less on Cold War politics and more issues of economic inequality, social justice, and development. The Global South encompasses a broader range of countries beyond just those traditionally considered third world, including some economic development nations in regions like Latin America and Asia. Moreover, Global South emphasizes solidarity among countries facing similar challenges, highlighting the shared struggle against colonial legacy, economic explosion, and systemic explosion, cultural, geography, and historic context within this region while advocating for equitable development of representation of global stage. So the country that belong in global south is Brazil, India, South Africa, Nigeria, Indonesia, Mexico, and others. And the country that belong in third world is Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Cambodia, Haiti, Laos, Nepal, and others.
The third world historical refers to countries that were aligned neither with the communist bloc of country, nor with the capitalist West during the Cold War. This includes countries are diverse as Botswana, India, and Sweden. In currently culture, however, that the term is normally used as the euphemism for developing countries. So, on what on what based on what Alejandro said, um, the global north consists the richest, most industrialized country, which are mainly in the northern part of the world, and the effects NGOs are owned by their donors and the global north. So they have characteristics of global north. While the global north is the characterized by massive growth, democratic governance, peace and stability, and constantly prone to human progress. The global south is appeared to be a zone and poverty. So the difference between north and global south, more especially the global north consists of the world development countries. Whereas the global south consists of the world developing countries and least developing countries. So The purpose of the North, the global North is what means we talk about the North and the South. So the global North includes the richest countries that have most to update technology and the resources, which the South are countries that usually have less have the South is have less resources and money, so their citizens are likely to suffer poverty. So the advantages of the advantages global north is state are generally since it's a part of the global north that the winner like at equal consider that democratic and development countries who export technological advantage and manufacture products. So the southern states are generally proper developing countries with the younger, more fragile democratic families.
Understanding the distinct between Third World and Global South. Introduction. The terms Third World and Global South are often used interchangeable, but they carry distinct historical and geopolitical connotations. This report aims to elucidate difference between these terms, highlighting their evolution and contemporary usage and historical context. Third World originated during the Cold War, describing countries unlike with NATO First World or the Communist Bloc Second World. Emphasize political and ideological affiliations rather than economic status, has fallen out due to its Cold War associations. Global South emerged in the latter half of 20th century as the more exclusive term, focusing on economic disparities, encompasses nations facing socio-economic challenges regardless of political alignment, recognize a broader spectrum of issues beyond Cold War divisions. Contemporary usage. Third World, often viewed as outdated and political charge, can be perpetuate stereotypes and oversimplify complex global dynamics and global south. Referred in academic and international development discourse, acknowledges the complexity of challenges faced by economically disadvantaged regions, encourage a more nuanced understanding of global inequalities, overlapping characteristics. Both terms highlighting disparities in developing living standards and access to resource both have been criticized for oversimplifying diverse realities with the categorized nations. Conclusion. While the terms Third World and Global South share a focus on global inequalities, their origins, historical context, and contemporary usage distinguish Global South and increasingly referred for its broader and less political charge. Framework promoting an enhanced understanding of complex challenges faced by economically disadvantaged regions.
Nero Direro. My topic is all about differentiating Global South from Third World countries. What is the so-called Global South? Refers to countries generally located in the Southern Hemisphere characterized by lower income levels and economic development compared to the Global North. Diverse experiences and challenges, including poverty, inequality, resource independence, and historical legacies of colonialism. Increasing economic and political influence on the world stage, emphasizes the geographical location and shared experience of development challenges, considered more neutral and less hierarchical than the third world term. And what is third world? Emerged during the Cold War to designate non-aligned countries not part of the Western First World or Eastern Bloc Second World. Implied a position of weakness, dependence, of inferiority compared to the developed world, gradually fell out of favor due to its outdated and negative connotations.
How is the Global South different to Third World countries? First, origin. Global South is a geographical term while the Third World emerged from Cold War political division. The second, focus Global South emphasized shared development challenges, while the third world focus on political alignment. And the third one is connotations. Global South is considered more natural and less hierarchical, while third world had negative connotations. New conception of global relations from Latin America. First, dependence theory. This theory, developed by Latin America scholars challenge traditional Western development models that perpetuated dependence and inequality. It argued for greater autonomy, self-reliance, and cooperation among developing countries. South-South cooperation. This concept emphasizes collaboration and solidarity among countries in the global South to address shared challenges and achieve development goals. Global justice movement. Latin American activists have been at the forefront of movements advocating for fair trade, environmental sustainability, and human rights, challenging the dominance of powerful countries and institutions. Rise of regionalism. Latin America countries have formed regional organizations like Mercosur and UNASUR to promote economic integration, political cooperation, and collective bargaining power on the global.
New conception of global relations. Latin American countries, with their historical experiences of colonialism, imperialism, and struggles for independence, have played a significant role in shaping the new conception of global relations. So, the historical context of Latin American from global relations. Latin America has a rich history of colonialism, imperialism, and struggles for independence, which have influenced the perspective of global relations. So the region's experiences of exploitation and inequality have fueled a desire for change on the global stage. So the movement and ideology. First is the dependency theory. Latin America scholars develop dependency theory, which highlights the unequal relationships between developed and developing countries. This perspective emphasizes the exploitation of resources and markets in the global South by wealthier nations. Next is the liberation theology. Emerging from Latin American Catholicism, liberation theology emphasizes social justice and solidarity with the poor and oppressed. It advocates for transformative change in global structures to address systematic injustices. So, the advocacy for equity and cooperation. Latin American countries have consistently pushed for greater equity and cooperation in the global affairs. So, they emphasize the importance of recognizing diverse voices and perspectives, particularly from the global South, in decision-making processes. So next is the promoting inclusivity. Latin American nations have been champions of inclusivity in international relations, advocating for the participation of marginalized communities and countries in global dialogues. They emphasize the need to address historical injustices and empower disadvantaged groups on the global stage.